As always, I'm Maurice Garland, and I'm joined by Brandon Peters. What's going on with you, man?
What's good, brother? Good to be back in the house virtually once again. It's been a crazy since the last time we were on. We've lost Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, lost the great John Thompson, man. It's just lost Clifford Robinson. It's been crazy, man. I feel like everybody's going through things, but we're persevering and pushing through, man. It's all about change and making the most of this opportunity, man. So both of us HBCU grads, we talk about it a lot on the show. We had several, notable guests on from different HBCUs, man. And this brother who is on today, Xavier Peoples, is the founder of HBCU Change. If you are not familiar with the app, you will get familiar today. I suggest you download it. Business owner, recipient of the Black Enterprise 100 Modern Man Award, and was selected to the Atlanta Voices 50 Under 50. Very accomplished dude. Knows about that paper. And we definitely need economic empowerment during this time. So let's get it in, man.
Absolutely.
So you're actually a graduate of West Georgia, you know what I'm saying? Yes. And being that, we're having a professional conversation, not going to get into all the parties that used to go on over there, but, they had some notoriously named parties at that school, you know what I'm saying?
This is true.
Very aware.
As we're talking about HBCUs, and that's not an HBCU, even though a lot of us do go there. So we're curious to know, what gave you the spark to want to start a HBCU, based business, for alumni to give back to their schools?
So I think first and foremost, before we're anything, we're Black, and understanding what HBCUs mean to the Black ecosystem and the Black economy. Without HBCUs, the Black ecosystem and the Black economy does not exist at all, because majority of the power brokers in the Black ecosystem are coming from HBCUs. And so I have a long affinity for HBCUs. My parents went to a HBCU. My wife went to a HBCU. And so I love my people and I love my school. And I understand the importance of these schools to Black people.
Dope. So your bio says, man, that you've been doing business, financial business for since a very early age. So when did it bite? When did the bite come? When did you know that you wanted to deal in money and not only get bread for yourself, but help other people establish their finances?
What's funny is when I was younger, I never knew exactly what I wanted to do, but what I did know is I wanted to wake up every day and put a suit on. So when I got into high school, a very influential person in my life went to my church, and he was a financial advisor. And so he was one of the few people that I knew as a young person who was very wealthy. And I said, I want to be just like him. And so literally one summer, I was probably about 13 years old. I spent every day with this cat. And I saw how not only he was making money himself, but how he was impacting Black families and helping Black families to build wealth through insurance and through investments and things of that nature. And so from then on, I knew exactly what I wanted to do from the age of 13. And then from an entrepreneurial standpoint, just like any other kid, when you're 12 and 13, I used to rake leaves in the fall and cut grass in the spring. And I never forget, there was one winter where I was raking this guy's yard, and he said, man, why are you out here raking all these leaves by yourself? You need to get your friends in here to help you so you can do it quicker. And I said, I want to keep all the money to myself. And it was in that moment that he taught me how to be a man in business. And he said, listen, I'll pay you more. You pay your friends a little bit less, and you'll keep the lion's share of what you're doing, and you'll have a business started. And so from then on, I've been a businessman and just trying to figure out solutions and making money off of it. That's how it goes.
Nah, that's what's up. So what was your upbringing like, man? You from Atlanta originally?
From Decatur, man, Glenwood.
Oh man, that's where I'm from.
Yes, Yeah.
Exactly. That's where I'm from, Glenwood.
So I went to Atherton Elementary off of Glenwood.
Hold up, Xavier. Hold up, man. How old are you, man? Because I went to Atherton too, bro.
Really, I'm 38.
I'm 40, bro. So we probably were walking them hallways. We definitely walking them hallways at the same time.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So Mercer Woods, that's the neighborhood that I grew up in off Covington Highway. And so, you know, from Atlanta, born and bred, and this is my city, and I love it here.
All right, good stuff, man. So like, we'll jump right into talking about this app, man. You know, sure. HBCU Change. I downloaded it on my phone, I think last week, because I saw Steve Canal talking about it.
Yes.
I was like, oh man, this is a great idea. I already shared it with all my friends and everything. So, so I guess like in the Twitter version, tell us what HBCU Change and what it does.
Okay, so let me give y'all the kind of little context first, and then I'll tell you exactly what it does. So my daytime job right now, I work for a firm by the name of Capital Group. We're the largest active money manager in the world. And so literally some of the largest endowments and foundations in the country, my firm manages those endowments and foundations. And so I went to the head of my firm and I said, hey, how many HBCUs do we manage, because they can truly benefit from the resources that we're giving these larger schools? He said 0. So literally I got on a plane, flew all over the country to talk to HBCUs about the resources that they have to manage their endowments. And every single one of them, like, Xavier, you know, this all sounds good, but listen, our main issue, no matter how big or small the HBCU was, is engaging alumni in a meaningful way to consistently give back to the school. So literally I came back home, I created a survey, sent it out to 5,000 HBCU alumni, and I asked them, why don't you give back to the school? Or why don't you give back to the school consistently? The number one answer in that survey was, we don't give back to the school because we've never been asked to give back to the school, followed closely by, we don't give back to the school because we don't feel that we can give an amount that will have an impact on the school. And so I'm gonna pause right there and say, you know how we've been hearing in the news lately, hey, Mark Bezos' wife gave 120 million to 5 different HBCUs, and this person gave 10 million. Well, actually, that has a double-edged sort of effect on giving to these schools, because when you hear somebody's giving 10 or $20 million to a school, you don't think that your $50 a month or your $20 a month will have an impact on that school, when in actuality, it'll have a tremendous impact on that school if you gave something versus giving nothing at all. And so I wanted to create an app that gives us the ability to give micro donations to the school, because what that does is it opens up the field for more people to give back to the school at one time, and it'll have a tremendous impact on the school. So what research tells us is that if you connect your debit and credit card to an app and give to a cause, on the low side, you'll give around $54 a month. On the high side, $87 a month to that cause. And so if we use a school like Clark Atlanta University, 40,000 alumni. If 10,000 people were to sign up on this app today and give back, that's $540,000 a month, $6 million a year going back to Clark Atlanta University, just by giving change and rounding up on a monthly basis. And even if my projections are off and we slice that in half, that's $2.5 million a year going to the school. That's a tremendous impact on the school. And so right now, you know, HBCUs are really, really in trouble, because HBCUs make majority of their money by room and board and food services. So during the pandemic, nobody is staying on campus, and then they can't sell food because nobody's on campus. And then on top of that, then they make money from the government. So the government gives them funding. But what happens if the government slices funding, okay? Right. And then you have these sporadic big donations, and then majority of these donations are going to the same 5 schools over and over again. Right. So what happens to the school that doesn't get the $20 million donation? This right here allows HBCUs to become self-sustainable, not have to rely on the big donations, and not have to rely on the government funding to survive. We want our schools to survive, and I believe that this is the solution for all of our HBCUs to survive.
So was it an easy sell getting all these schools to, get on board with the app? Because like me and some friends of mine, like we have a small scholarship that we give to our school, Fort Valley State.
Sure.
And it wasn't the easiest process. You know what I'm saying? You would think it's like, oh man, all we gotta do is show up with a check and be like, hell man. But it's like, you gotta do this. Like, why is it so hard for me to give you my money, bro?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, was it an easy sale getting people involved, to do business with you through this app?
So I'm blessed to have a tremendous team, and we have a couple of individuals on our team who can literally pick up the phone and call every HBCU president in the country. And so if I did not have those individuals on my team, I can only imagine that it would be difficult for me to get this project off the ground. But being as though that I have the right players on my team, no, it's not a difficult phone call at all, because we're dealing with people that they trust, and we get it done every day.
Awesome.
Dope. So, as being an HBCU graduate, very involved alumnus, I know that at a lot of our schools, it is difficult to bring in new ideas.
Sure.
Have the old the traditionalists, I'll put it to you like that, accept it. Was it at all difficult having these schools buy in? And also, how many schools are on the app right now?
So what I will say is understanding the moment that we're in right now with the pandemic that is going on, with the racial injustice that's going on in the country, the tone and the tenor of these schools is a lot different than it would have been 6 or 7 months ago. So typically when we pick up the phone and we call, they are welcoming this idea, and they're like, how do we sign up? How do we get started? Where do we go? Now, to answer your second question, what we're doing is we're being intentional with how we're rolling out the schools. So we're rolling out the schools in phases. And so in the first phase, we have 6 schools, and that is Fort Valley State University,
Yes, sir.
Alabama State, Florida A&M University, Morris Brown, Clark Atlanta University, and Benedict College. In our next phase, we're going to have 15 schools that we're going to roll out. And then in the following phase is going to be 20 schools. And so we're rolling them out in phases for a reason. The reason is we do press releases with each phase, and we want each school to get the attention that they need to get as many users to sign up to support those schools as possible. And so if we rolled out all 103 HBCUs at one time, then that affects our effectiveness in getting people to sign up. And so there's a strategy to what we're doing. And so the phaseology of the schools is how we're rolling them out.
So same way you just brought up how, when somebody writes a $200 million check, it usually goes to the same 5 schools. Mm-hmm. Now, when it gets to when a check does get wrote to some of these schools, the money tends to go to the same place. It either goes to the football team or, whatever department the money man is in charge over has an affinity for, you know what I'm saying? So with the app, are people getting to choose what specific cause or department at the school they want to impact, or is it going to like a general fund? Like how does it work when the money actually gets there?
So it varies from school to school. So some schools have issues with athletics and have a big deficit with their athletics. Some schools have issues with their operating budget. Some issues. So from school to school, it varies. What we've learned very quickly is to be a resource for the school, make suggestions to the school, but ultimately the school determines where those funds are going. We haven't got to the point where we can have enough influence on the school to say, hey, we want these funds to go to this particular department or this particular area, simply because they believe in the concept. We're having to prove the concept to them.
Got it. So for those who are not familiar, I'm sure we got some folks that aren't super tech savvy that are listening and watching. How does the app work in layman's terms?
Okay, so what you would do is you would connect your debit card and or credit card to the app. The app will go in, so you're connected to a platform called Plaid. And typically Plaid, you're already connected to Plaid anyway. If you use Cash App, if you use your online banking, if you use pretty much Acorn, any type of major cash type platform, you're using Plaid. And what Plaid does is it goes in and it looks at your transaction and it rounds up your transaction to the nearest dollar. And so if you bought a coffee for $2.75, it's going to round it up to $3, and that 25 cents is going to go to your HBCU. And what we do is, once your roundups total $5, it then takes the $5 from your checking account and gives it to your HBCU Change account, and then ultimately it ends up at your school, and it goes directly to your school. HBCU Change does not take possession of any of the roundups at all. Your school has a Stripe account, and those funds go directly to the school Stripe account.
Okay, cool. So there's really kind of no reason for anyone not to do this.
There's no reason for anyone not to do it. I think if anything, it allows you to give without thinking about it. You know, a lot of times life happens, and I think we all have good intentions, but when life happens, we forget to give. And so what this does is it allows you to sign up and to continuously give without even thinking about it. And so I think that's the benefit of this program.
Okay. No, the goal is to raise $5 to $1 billion over the next 5 years. Why that number and that timeline?
So, you know, a lot of people ask about the $1 billion figure, but playing in the space that I play in on a daily basis, there are endowments and foundations that are 7 billion, 10 billion, 20 billion. And so 1 billion for all 103 HBCUs is actually a small goal. And so I think that is very attainable once we get all the schools signed up and everybody participating at one time. This is just group economics 101 of everybody, all hands on deck, giving change to schools to save our schools. And so I believe that it can be done. I really do believe that the 1 billion goal in 5 years is a conservative goal. We should be able to do more once we get everybody locked in, giving at the same time.
Yeah, because I mean, if you can just imagine like the alumni, hell, I don't see why some students can't sign up for it. You know what I'm saying? It's like
all hands on deck. Let's go. Let's give back to our schools, and let's make our schools self-sustainable, where they don't have to rely on the government and large donors to save them day in and day out.
For sure.
Agreed, 100%. Now, you're switching gears a little bit. You're a private wealth advisor for high net worth clients. Now, I know there are Black folks with wealth, but there are a whole lot of us who do not have wealth. And I know you also volunteer your time and help people out with, with wealth building and things of that nature as well. So what tips as a financial services expert, what, basic tips can you give, those who are trying to get it on creating wealth?
No question. So first and foremost, I think it's important to budget and have a realistic budget. So a lot of times people set a budget and it's just it's very similar to working out. You set a goal of losing 30 pounds in 2 weeks. That's not a realistic goal, right? What you want to do is, yourself, the money that you make, set a realistic budget first and foremost. Secondly, I would say save. It's important to get in the habit of saving. You can't invest anything if you don't have your own personal nest egg and savings. You should always pay yourself first. Every time you get paid, pay yourself first. What paying yourself first looks like is immediately putting money into your savings account, okay? Before you pay your bills, pay yourself. You're the most important bill, okay? And then lastly, once you've established having a consistent budget that's realistic, that you can count on, then you have your nest egg in place and your savings in place. Ultimately, you want to go into investing. And what does that look like? Investing can look like a lot of different things, but we hear this word diversifying. often, and that is having a good set of stocks, a good set of bonds, real estate, things of that nature as well. And so you could ride the wave of the market, as well as you could counter against inflation and things of that nature. That's ultimately what you want to get to. But if you don't budget and save, you can't get to the investment portion of the game as well.
All right. Now, you mentioned savings, and you're on the board of Citizens Trust Bank here in Atlanta, which I am a customer of. Can you speak a little bit about the importance of, he put a big smile on his face. Hey, I got more money in Citizens Trust than I got in the mainstream white bank. So it's all good. Can you talk about the importance of banking Black?
Woo. Listen, let me explain something to you. You know, I use the word Black ecosystem. I use the word Black economy. Let me explain something to you. In the beginning of this pandemic, I was on so many Zoom calls talking to business owners about the PPP loan and the EIDL loan. And many of these individuals were African Americans, and they talked about how the big banks turned their backs on them when the first round of PPP loans came out. And so I explained to them the importance of banking Black and banking at community banks, because at these community banks and at these Black banks, it's like going to an HBCU. They know you and they care about you. And so if they know you and they care about you, they're going to help you, and they're going to do whatever it takes to help you to get your PPP loan or your EIDL loan. And so that's the importance of banking Black. That's the importance of Citizens Trust Bank in our community. Citizens Trust Bank is an underutilized bank. Black banks are underutilized banks. A lot of times, Black people, particularly Black business owners, are underbanked. They can't get the loans that they need to grow their business. They can't get the credit cards that they need to grow their business. They don't have the deposit relationships with their business. And it's simply because you go into these big banks who just look at you as a number, who probably really don't want you, where a community bank would love to have you as a customer. And so that's the importance of banking Black. If you are a Black business and you want to grow your business, go to Citizens Trust Bank, go to a Black bank, and watch how they help you to grow your business, because they're going to take a vested interest in your growth.
And you know, one thing I always appreciate is, especially like with the Black banks that I have experience with, like, you know, when I was younger and my credit was just off the chain, just bad, you know what I'm saying? It's like, they ain't just let me walk up in there just like, hey man, I want to do this and this. They're like, hey, look, bro, we got to have some conversations first. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
this is what you do. Right.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I always appreciate it.
And I mean, you speak about Citizens Trust Bank. Citizens Trust Bank gave me the startup capital to start HBCU Change.
Wow.
And so when you talk about being Black through and through, a Black bank seeded the funds for me to build this app out that you see today.
Gotcha.
Wonderful.
We've spoken, so we've thrown some big numbers out there. We've talked about endowments. We've talked about different loans and all of that stuff. I was looking at your Instagram. You're very outspoken. I appreciate that. And one thing that you mentioned was how we kind of getting lowballed on these numbers of these corporations. A lot of them who, to keep it 100, got their seed money from the slave trade. Are giving nickels and dimes to Black-owned businesses, to the Black community, and things of that nature. You know, how can, especially in this time where all eyes are on us, what are the things that we can do to kind of put the pressure on to get what we deserve? Because we are keeping a lot of these companies in business.
Absolutely. So my answer to that is self-sustainability. First and foremost, we need to learn how to love ourselves and love our businesses, right? And shop with our businesses. And I think if we learn to consistently spend dollars with us first, in our community first, that puts pressure on these big corporations to earn our business versus just giving them our business over and over and over again. If you can remember, right after the George Floyd incident, many of the big corporations were coming out and said that, hey, we're donating $10 million to Black causes over the next 5 years. The reality is that the numbers that they were coming out with is pennies to them, right? Yeah. And so what that does is it was almost a whistle to say, hey, we're going to donate to these causes because we still want you all to spend money with us. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so what I was calling out on Instagram is, don't let them trick you into thinking that they love us, because they really don't love us. What they're doing is just throwing us a little crumbs to keep us in the fold so we won't turn against them, because they understand how necessary our dollars are to their corporation. And so don't fall for the trick. Make them earn your business by giving more to your causes. And that's what that's all about.
Yeah, one thing I always wonder, and I'm still wondering about, is like, some of them named specific things, but many of them was just blanket. You know, just like, hey, we giving money to Black causes. It's like, which ones? You know what I'm saying? Right. And then like, who's going? And me and the friend were talking about, like, man, we need to make us a job. Like, we need to find a way to be the facilitator, because, like, you know, like, if you're giving money to Black causes, who is going to be the person that's determining which ones it goes to? Like, who is the group? Who is the person in charge of, like, dispersing these funds? You know what I'm saying?
How can we hold you accountable? And so also, that's what HBCU Change is. It's a vehicle for them to give back. So if you want to give back, you can give back through HBCU Change, and we can make sure that it goes to exactly where you need it and want it to go. And so a lot of big corporations have reached out. And so the good thing about us is I'm big on self-sustainability, and I don't want to have any bosses at all when it comes to HBCU Change. And so we have the luxury of picking and choosing who we want to work with and making sure that it's the right partnership that will ultimately benefit historically Black colleges and universities around the country.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, we definitely appreciate your time, brother. Please let people know how they can download the app, where they can keep up with HBCU Change, and how they can support starting right now.
Okay, so you can go to the App Store, the Apple App Store or the Google App Store, and download HBCU Change. You can go to www.hbcuchange.com. You can follow us on Instagram at HBCU Change, on Twitter at HBCU_Change. So we're everywhere. Look us up, Google us, download the app, tell everybody about it. We got to support these schools, and thank you in advance for your support. Thank you, Maurice. I see you back.
And I was looking at that leaderboard, because there is a leaderboard on there. Clark Atlanta, we got to do better now. We looking crazy out here.
No. So listen, so I will say, with Clark, we haven't even officially launched with Clark yet. So right now we're working with the president of the school. He's doing a video for us. We're going to send out emails and start pushing it to Clark Atlanta alumni. So give Clark about 2 weeks, okay, and we about to go crazy with Clark, because I have a special affinity for Clark, because a lot of my friends went to Clark Atlanta. Obviously, I'm from Atlanta. And so Clark needs to be up there with any and all schools for sure.
Absolutely. I concur 100%, brother. So yeah, we appreciate you coming through, bro. Appreciate you guys watching on Live Hip Hop Daily and on YouTube. Appreciate you listening through your favorite podcasting app. Make sure that you subscribe, rate, and review us. And we'll see you next week with another dope show. Peace.